When we start, I'm going to put myself on mute because they're power washing my house. It might be annoying.
Sounds good.
And besides that, my clock goes off every 15 minutes. Hello, Mr. Green. You're still on mute. Okay, I'm gonna go on mute, and Robin.
You say you wanted to start the meeting?
Yeah, it looks like we can start now, Mr. Disler.
Okay, I want to welcome everybody this evening. Thank you for attending. And I guess I'll turn it right over to Greg.
Welcome, everyone. First agenda item this evening is the transportation bid results. The RFP was out, published in the newspaper 3 consecutive weeks, and it was advertised as a 1-year agreement with the option to extend it for 1 year. And we had one vendor submit a proposal, and that was Brandywine Transportation. And their 1-year proposal is a 6% over what the cost was from last year. They also submitted a 5-year proposal, which is a 2% increase for each of the 5 years. So that was not an option in the RFP. They submitted the 5-year proposal on their own. And currently we took everything to our attorneys to review. And since they were the only bidder, our question to our attorneys was, what are our options? Could we accept the 5-year? Or do we have to stay with the 1-year proposal with possible 1-year extension? So right now it's in the hands of our attorney for review, and there'll be more information for that as it becomes available. Does anyone have any specific questions?
I assuming you're recommending the 5-year if that is legal. Is that correct?
That would be correct. If the attorneys review it and say that we could accept the 5-year, that's what we'd like to do, yes.
And I think it is, but that's just, I'm not an attorney, so I'll shut up. Yeah.
So hearing no more questions, if you do have any, certainly email me or give me a call, but there'll be more information once the attorney has reviewed it. The next item is the snowplow for the front of our new small dump truck. I had talked about it, I believe it was 2 meetings ago, and I do have a quote for the work. It's $7,231 from a CoStarz vendor. That is cost of the plow, installation, everything, and that would be paid for out of my current budget. And I think at the 2 meetings ago, we had left it at the committee supported the purchase. And so I have the quote. And does anyone have any questions? I'm looking for to move it forward to the agenda for Monday night's approval.
I'm fine with it.
Go.
Fine with it also, Greg. Thank you.
I'm good.
Fine with it as well.
Thank you, everyone. We'll move it forward to the agenda and we'll go from there. The last agenda item that I have this evening is a substitute custodian service. We have tried almost every avenue to find a substitute custodian, and I do have one or two people, but they only accept work or take work now and then. So we're moving into the end of the school year. A lot of the custodians have vacation days that they need to use, and the services that they provide during the school day for sanitizing and helping out with all the COVID things that we're doing, it's a necessity that they're there. And with me not being able to find any substitute custodians, I went back to our facilities group, and there is a substitute custodial service that other districts have used, and the name of the company is School Operations Services, or they call themselves SOS. They gave me a 1-year proposal, and it would renew each year if we wanted to continue it. This substitute custodian would belong to the company. They would take care of all the payroll and taxes for their employee. They would provide all the clearances for their substitutes, the physicals, anything that we would need or ask that they would take care of. There's no cost to enter into the contract, and we would only pay for the hours actually worked by the substitute custodian. So the long and the short of it is, they would charge us $21 an hour to have a substitute custodian. $15 of that would go to the sub, and $6 would go to the company for their costs. We still can use our subs that we have in-house. Our intention is that we would pay for this through one of the ESSER funds, since the custodial services and sanitizing goes hand in hand with our safety plan. It would be covered through some grant money. So I'll open it up to any questions that someone has. Again, the only money that we would pay is if we actually have a custodian come in. There is no cost to actually have the service in place.
Great. Greg, this is Gary. I should know this and I don't. So there's nothing in our agreement, or an agreement that states the substitutes, does it? In their contract?
I don't believe there's anything in the current support services agreement that would prohibit us from having a custodial substitute service.
Okay. Just making sure.
Greg, this is Bob Kern. The fact that you're coming to us and asking for this means this is a great need, and I think an essential need as well. So I support it 100%.
Thank you.
I was gonna mention the same thing. You wouldn't be asking us if you tried all your different avenues and couldn't get anyone. So I support you as well, Greg.
Thank you very much.
I have one question, Greg. What the starting salary for custodians now is what, about $16 an hour or something like that? I don't have it at my fingertips. Maybe Rhonda or Sherry knows.
The substitute rate, I believe, is $11.25 per hour. Starting custodian, if we hired one full-time.
That's what I meant, yeah.
I'm going to defer to Sherry, but I think it's like $15.60 maybe.
It's $15.75.
$15.75.
Mm-hmm.
We've attempted.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Advertising repeatedly. We've had it out in, the school flyers that they send home with kids. We've advertised. We have it posted everywhere. We just can't find anyone.
I guess my point is, this is probably cheaper than actually hiring a new full-time custodian until you do the roll-up on top of the 1575. And throw in, the FICA and the retirement and whatever, I'm talking a full-time custodian, obviously not a part-time, but so yeah, I'm okay with it.
Hey, Greg, it's Donna. What kind of guarantee or percentage do you think they'd be able to get a sub when you need one?
I honestly don't have that answer. They said that they could line a sub up for us that would be pretty much in our area, and they would pretty much be able to supply us with that same substitute every time. So we would have some consistency in the person that we would get, and they would be as close to our area as far as Slatington as possible.
Okay, thanks.
If anyone else has any other questions, just feel free to give me a call. And if everyone's on board, this contract for services will be on the agenda for Monday night's approval.
All right, thank you, Greg.
Thank you. And that concludes my part this evening.
Okay, and I guess if no one has any questions, I guess we can close the technology meeting. It's all yours, Donna.
No, Robin, we still have technology under you.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, yep, good evening, everybody. Tonight I have a short agenda for the technology. I wanted to talk about T-Mobile hotspots. Last year, it was around this time, we ordered 30 Khajiit hotspots, and those weren't delivered to us until sometime in June. Back, a year ago was when the pandemic just hit, and the hotspots were in hot demand, and everything was behind. So we actually received those hotspots late in June. So those 30 hotspots that we ordered last year from Khajiit, the service will be running out sometime. I think it's close to the end of June. So what I'd like to do is order 15 T-Mobile hotspots to replace those. And you might ask, why am I only ordering 15? Because we're looking at the usage since we went back to 4 days a week. The use of the Khajiits has gone down. We can look at we get reports every week of the usage, and right now we still have a few T-Mobiles on hand that we can hand out. And plus, when we look at the usage, I'm estimating that we only need about 15 hotspots to carry us through with what we have now. So I'm asking for permission to order for 15 more hotspots. They would be $20 a month for the service. The hotspots themselves are free, and we would just get 12 months of service, so it'd be $3,600 in total. And those 15 hotspots, we would use ESSER grant funds to help purchase those hotspots. And again, those would be to replace 30 Khajiits that are going to be dropping off of service at the end of June. So it's a little early, but I'd like to get these in place so we have them, so I know we have them on hand by the time June hits. So that way, if students do need them over the summer, we would have these to hand out in their place. So what I'm asking for is if we can move this forward to the board on Monday night for approval to order 15 more hotspots.
Yes.
Gary's
Rob.
okay.
This is Rob. I'm all right with it.
Absolutely, Eric.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is the just kind of give a little information on the emergency broadband benefit program. We don't have all the details of this yet, but I'm just going to give a little information about this. the government, when they passed the COVID relief bill late in 2020, I believe it was in December of 2020, they set aside $3.2 billion for what they're calling the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program. It's called the EBB program. And what that is designed to do, and this is another reason why I'm only asking for 15 hotspots and not to replace the entire 30. What they're looking to do is they're looking to provide internet access for low-income families. And right now they're working this program out. And what they're going to do is make this part of the E-rate program. So USAC is the company that runs the E-rate program. This emergency broadband benefit program will be part of the E-rate program. And what they are going to do is they are going to provide internet access for low-income families. This would be families for a school district that have either reduced or free lunches. And they will then qualify to get free internet service. And that may come in a couple different forms. One may be what they are talking about. One may be companies such as internet service providers such as Blue Ridge, Penteledata, or RCN. Companies like that may participate in this program. They're not signed up yet, but this is what they're working on. And then they may provide access to our families. And then the only thing we would have to do is confirm that those families are in our district and that they do participate in the free and reduced lunch program. Another thing that they are talking about is some of these mobile hotspots that we have. When I talked to our sales rep from T-Mobile, one of the things they may do too is we may actually get funding for hotspots that we hand out. So for instance, if they cost $20 a month, we may sign up for that within the E-rate program. And then what they'll do is refund us that $20 a month for any of our students that are using these that are in that program. So again, that's why I'm only asking for 15 hotspots now too, because this program, they've been at it since December trying to get all the wrinkles worked out of this program, and it's supposed to be launching sometime soon. So I don't want to jump the gun and buy another 30 or 40 hotspots when this program will most likely reduce those needs for us down the road. So as I get more information, I will gladly pass that on, but it sounds like it's either going to be a local service provider is going to provide the access, or we may get like these hotspots and then we'll get reimbursed for these hotspots for the particular students that fall within this category. One thing about this program, though, I do want to caution is this program, right now, the way it's written is this program is only going to run for 6 months after the pandemic is over. Right now, there's a pandemic declaration. Once that declaration runs out, this program will run for an additional 6 months. So it'll give us time also to transition if we would have to purchase hotspots at that time. But I can tell you too, this program has been in the talks for a while, and there are politicians that are trying to make this a permanent program, which I believe is why they attached it into the E-rate program. The E-rate program is what we used for our internet access, for our network connections, for our wireless, all of our wireless access points, all of our network equipment. That's the program that we already get funding, federal funding through E-rate for. So this program is now going to be part of E-rate. And I am anticipating that, I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but I know that they are trying to turn this into a long-term program. So this may be something that we get subsidy for, federal funding for year after year going forward. That's not in the bill yet, but I know that is some of the things that they are talking about discussing down the road. So I just wanted to bring everybody up to speed on that. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, hearing none, that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Eric.
Eric, are there any questions in the chat?
We do not have any questions at this time.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Disler, that was all for this committee.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it over to Donna.
Hi, guys. Looks like Sue is first up on the agenda, cafeteria.
Yeah. Yep. Hello there.
I think the last meeting we talked about the seamless summer feeding program. We didn't have any answers, but we finally do. They have extended feeding to be free to all students until September 30th or before, either September 30th or your first day of school if it's before September 30th, which means that we can still feed through the summer. So Tim Weber and I have already spoke about his group that will take care of. I've already spoken with the rec center and we'll be taking care of them. We're going to open it up to the community, and if anybody here in this meeting or beyond has any other groups or camps or anything that you're aware of that we can help out, please let them know that I'd be more than happy to speak with them and help them out in any way that we possibly could. We're moving along. We've got a lot of great opportunities on our plate right now with the Teachers Appreciation coming up and other stuff. So we're doing well, but that's about it right now for food service.
Cool. Thanks, Sue. Glad things are going well. Sherry or Rhonda, budget's next.
So we're going to give our first look of a very high-level presentation of the 21-22 budget, preliminary budget. And Sherry or Rhonda is going to share their screen. And we're going to walk you through it. While they're setting that up, I just want to let everyone know that, again, this is a night that I will need to excuse myself by 6:20 if we're still going, so I can attend my evening class. So if I sign off, I'm not being rude. I just need to go to I need to go to my school. Okay, Sherry and Rhonda, are you ready?
Yep, Rhonda's doing it.
Okay, thank you, Rhonda. Sherry, you and I will just have to mute and unmute ourselves so we don't get the feedback when our slides are up. Okay, so again, this is the initial look at the 21-22 school year budget. We're still realizing some effects of the COVID-19 virus for the current year, and you'll see that some of those effects are going to continue into the upcoming year as well. We've had a number of funding opportunities. The PCCD COVID and COVID-2 grants are both completed with the associated dollar amounts there with them. So a lot of this went towards personal protective equipment. It went through cleaning material, supplies and materials, those type of expenditures, plexiglass expenditures, the purchase of the hand sanitizing stations, items like that. As well as some of it went towards the bipolar ionization devices. It didn't cover all of that, but some of it went towards expenses like that as well. We are also with the ESSERS 1, the initial ESSERS grant, that has been completed as well, and that was for $324,575. So those expenditures were everything from more of the PPE type stuff to technology, any sort of instructional teaching and learning type materials that we needed. Again, these were all geared towards one-time expenses, not reoccurring costs. ESSERS 2 and ESSERS 3, you'll see those are the most significant grants that have been put out from the federal government down to the state government and then ultimately to the school districts and other public school entities. ESSERS 2 was about 1.4 million, ESSERS 3 about 2.9 million. We need to finish ESSERS 2 by September of 2023. ESSERS 3, we need to finish by, initially we thought it was going to be September of 2023, but now we realize that we're allowed to actually spend that money down through September of 2024. ESSERS 3 alone allows for supplanting opportunities, where if we wanted to, we could use that for some costs that we typically incur in our general operating budget. Other potential savings, we've already realized savings on day-to-day and permanent building subs. this is a double-edged sword. We save money there only because there's not enough of them to come in when we need them to come in to help cover whatever the vacancy is for that day. So although we are saving money, it is at an instructional cost, I would say. Utilities, you'll see a little bit into the presentation that we continue to realize savings due to the previous ESCO project that the board approved. With all those guaranteed energy savings that we are now starting to realize, almost in some cases the year 2 effect for. Okay, Rhonda, if you want to advance it. Food services, Sue has been touching on this and keeping everybody apprised of this over the last year. Some of the negatives of the COVID-19 effects were that lost revenue from the monthly general operating profits, average daily losses from the a la carte sales, the minor catering that we have traditionally done, and just less overall participation by students. The positives are that we may be able to recoup some lost revenue during the summer feeding program, which Sue just spoke about. This has already been approved through September 1st, or the first day of students back in the buildings. U.S. Department of Agriculture has approved that. And then, of course, the many generous donations from various community groups and individuals have helped cover the costs, in particular, so we can sustain our Backpack Buddies program. Okay, Rhonda, COVID-19 effects are for the 21-22 budget year and beyond. And I believe that Sherry's going to speak to this slide.
Yep, this is my slide. So the Act 1 index, the IFO came out in February of 21 and projected what they think that Act 1 index is going to be moving forward. Just to let you know, last year's 21-22 rate, they had projected to be 3.5. It actually came in at a 3.4. Our district weighted average that we can raise taxes to is 4%. Going forward, if you look, 22-23, they're looking at a 4.2, 23-24, 4.2, 24-25, 3.8, 25-26, 3.1. They're figuring that in the 24-25, 25-26 school year is when we're going to start to realize some of the issues that arose from COVID. They're figuring it's going to probably take about 3 years, 2 to 3 years for the ramifications of all this to catch up. And when it does, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see that Act 1 index start to decline and go in the opposite direction. PSERS, these are updated projections, will not be available till June of 2021. So if you look at last year, they projected that in the 2021 school year, we would be at 34.95%. Our actual for this coming school year is 34.94%. So they're pretty much right on target with where their projections are. And hopefully, if we can update this information at where we're going prior to the final adoption budget, we will update this screen and let everybody know where PSERS is anticipating on going in the next couple of years. Go ahead, Rhonda. And I think this is you, Matt.
Thank you, Sherry. So again, this is just the kind of 3-year look back of enrollment trends by grade through our different buildings. And this will come into play with some staffing issues in upcoming slides. Right now, kindergarten is a kind of our best guess. Typically, we have a much more solid number of how many children will be coming into kindergarten. However, this year, I don't know if parents are more reluctant to schedule their 5-year-olds for kindergarten in September. But Mr. Schneiderite and his team have been holding rolling registration days on Wednesdays over at Peters Elementary School. And we'll continue to do that, really right up through the summer. Unfortunately, sometimes we have families that wait until the very last minute to register their sons and daughters for kindergarten. However, we're projecting anywhere from 110 to 120 based on previous year trends. Okay, Rhonda. You'll see that this is our enrollment back from 2018 up through our projections for the upcoming year, broken out by building there. And you'll see for the most part, it's pretty steady. we're not seeing huge swings by building level over the years. And we're anticipating we'll be steady going into the 21-22 school year. Okay, Rhonda? Our employee profile has shifted over the years. For support staff, we're recommending for the upcoming school year an increase of 5 support staff members, and you'll see why that is when we get into the building level information. But really, we're looking at this to address learning loss and to be able to sustain it over the next couple of years through the ESSER funds. And hopefully by then, we've done as much as we can to close that learning loss gap due to COVID. And ultimately at that time, we would have to make decisions about whether we want to keep any of these people on, or if we feel that we no longer need the additional staff, or could they possibly stay on through attrition of current staff as we move through the years. So we have a couple options there. However, any new hires, it would be made clear to them that the position is a grant-funded position, and it would go away by the end of the 23-24 school year, unless it becomes permanent through attrition, or the board would say we want to keep all positions, including the new ones. But we would be transparent with any of those people. Also looking, this would help us be able to break down learning groups into even smaller sessions, so they could get more small group instruction combination through teachers and instructional support aides. Professional staff, you'll see that, again, that's an increase of 1, actually 2, but really it's an increase of 1 because you'll see that we're looking through attrition of eliminating a position coming up. Administration would stay the same. The total net would be down by 1 employee. Again, all additional positions would be to help address learning loss, funded through the ESSER grants. Okay, next slide, please. So here's some composite data as it relates to expenditures, revenues, and fund balance, and Sherry's going to speak to this.
All right, so this is looking back at the 18-19, 19-20 school year. So these are actual numbers during those years. So the red bars represent your expenditures, your blue bars represent your revenues. So in the 18-19, we had a 34.5 million in expenditures. We had 32.9 in revenues. We used almost $6 million to balance the budget. That's what that green line is. So we used $1.6 million in order to balance our budget. 19-20 school year, remember we did the, we had almost 34 million, 33.9 million in revenues. We did 33.7 in revenues, and we used about $162,000 in our fund balance in order to balance our budget that year. 2021 school year, this is estimated through the end of the year. We're looking at our expenditures probably being somewhere around 32.9 million. I'm looking at revenues probably coming in somewhere at 33.7. I think we're going to see actually an increase in revenues compared to our expenditures. We're probably going to realize about $760,000 in additional revenues throughout the year, which means that we are going to increase our fund balance for the end of this school year. It doesn't look like it currently, the way the numbers are projecting, it's not looking like we are going to be using any of our fund balance in order to offset our costs. Remember, we agreed not to raise taxes over that adjusted index of 4%. That was approved during that resolution in December. We also did not apply for exceptions and PSERs, and we anticipate that our fund balance at the end of the year will be somewhere around 10.5 if we add that $765,000 back into our fund balance. Again, these are still all projected numbers. At this point in time, we're still working through some other negotiation processes, but this right now is currently my best guess at where I think we're going to end up for the year. Go ahead, Rhonda. And this is you, Matt.
Thank you, Sherry. Rhonda, can you click on where it says hide towards the bottom of the slide there? It's covering up some of the text on some slides. Thank you. So now we're going to kind of take a walk through each building level. At Peters Elementary School, our recommended action is 2 additional support staff, and those would be instructional paraeducators. So this is 2 of the 4 additional support staff that I had mentioned in the previous slide. They would be funded through ESSER's funds through 23-24 to help us address learning loss. We would look at relocating 1 professional staff position to Slatington Elementary School based on class size. Our rising 3rd graders, so our current 2nd graders, that's a large class. And when they move up to Slatington Elementary School, we had said previously, we had relocated a teacher from Slatington down a position down to Peters. Well, it's now time to return that position back to Slatington. And there's a couple different options there based on it could either be done through, if we have a retirement at Peters, that position would just be filled and automatically placed at Slatington. If there's no retirements at Peters, we would just have to relocate one of those teachers, a position that's at Peters, back to Slatington. We are recommending no budgetary increases for materials or programs. We are still having conversations and looking into that playground equipment upgrades. They're still desired. And we're looking at ways to be funded through ESSER funds. We think that we have some options there where we can upgrade existing equipment and replace the piece of equipment that was removed last school year. We're looking to hopefully do that at no additional cost to the budget that we're working on. Slatington Elementary School, again, 2 additional support staff. Instructional paraeducators for the same reasons as identified at Peters. And then here's the mirror side of that other bullet on the previous slide, to relocate 1 professional staff position from Peters Elementary School based on class size. Again, no budgetary increases for materials or programs at Slatington Elementary School. Next slide, please, Rhonda. Okay, at the middle school, we're recommending 1 additional support staff, an instructional paraeducator, to again help address learning loss. This one in particular, their home base would kind of be in the special education department, but really we're looking at a way to utilize the position where they can focus on helping out children with special needs, but really helping all children, especially during the inclusion times. Here, this would be a reduction of 1 professional, that should be professional position. And this would be our English language development program / gifted teacher through attrition. We believe that even without filling that position, we can still meet all needs in the districts with the staff that we have available even after that person retires. And we are looking at no budgetary increase for materials or programs. The high school, we're saying status quo for support staff, status quo for professional staff, and no budgetary increases for materials or programs. And then this slide here is, Sherry's going to discuss this slide.
Thank you, Matt. These are our budget concerns for expenditures for the 21-22 school year. So cost drivers, our salaries currently are set to increase by $483,000. Currently those, okay, so retirement pieces is also $212,000 increase. Medical, we're looking at a $200,000 increase. Social Security at a $32,000 increase. Currently though, the budget is built with everybody still in the budget as currently hired and working right now today for the district. So retirements are not taken into consideration yet because we have not had them board approved yet. That's why this whole vision tonight is really a 30,000 foot level. By our preliminary presentation in May, we will hopefully know what is happening 100% with medical, with our premium share copays, and who is retiring, so we can update the salary and benefits side of the budget. So that side of the budget is still a little bit up in the air until we get all those cost drivers back into the budget. Charter school, we increased by $456,000 this year. During the 1920 school year, we paid $1.26 million in charter school funding. 2021 school year, by the end of the year, I'm anticipating about $1.7 million we're going to owe in charter school funding. So that went up by $456,000. Technology, we increased by $50,000 again this year. That's that money that we've been putting in there every year, so that once we get to the point next year, we will be on that 4-year cycle for replacing all those one-on-one laptops. And we will have built his budget up to the point where he needs to be in order to do that for the technology department to do that 4-year lease every 4 years to replenish all of the laptops at the secondary level. LCTI, that has been an increase this year of $75,000. There is some new construction that had gone on down there and some new programs that, of course, all the districts that send students there have to pay their prospective share to that. And ours went up by $75,000 this year. Cost reductions, though, on the flip side of things, we have electric. We are still seeing nice savings from the ESCO project that the board approved back almost 2 years ago. We were able to reduce our electricity by $25,000 again this year. Mr. Durr and I feel we can probably also decrease our heating oil, but we want to wait until April 30th until our bids come in. So we see exactly how much we're going to be paying for oil next year, and then we can adjust the budget accordingly. But definitely, Mr. Durr and I talked this morning, where we used to be prior to the ESCO project was we were seeing 3 and 4 loads of fuel going into our buildings in order to heat them throughout the winter months. And because of the ESCO project, because of the foresight of the board and everybody else that this was a project that needed to be done, most years we're only using about 2 loads. So we've really cut probably pretty close to 50% of what we used to use in our heating oil, which is awesome. So that's only going to help our situation moving forward. And outplacements, we have every year we have some kids that age out. This year we had a student age out, so that's a $25,000 savings that we're going to see from a student that aged out of the program. That's it, Rhonda. All right, so
Can I just make
sure.
I just want to make sure before, can you go back to that slide?
Yeah, do the back arrow, Rhonda. Yep.
And this is, I realize this is only preliminary, but we're looking at salaries there of 483,000 roughly. Okay. Now you look at retirement, medical, and Social Security, and it is almost as much as the salary.
Yep.
What, 444 or something like that.
Yep.
So salary's 483 and the benefits are 444, almost as much as the salary. That was the only comment I wanted to make. And I don't know what we do about that, but that's the numbers. So
you are very much correct, Matt. When I look at the overall budget for that Rhonda gave me the other day for salaries and benefits, the salaries was about 14.8 million, and we ended up in salaries and benefits at over 23 million. So at least close to $9 or $10 million is benefit side of the budget. Yep, you are correct. Go ahead, Rhonda. All right, so current budget revenues. So last year we had the whole COVID incident, and we all, when I say we all, I mean all of the business managers in the county. We kind of were like, where are we going? Are people going to be able to pay their taxes? Are they still going to be employed? What's happening? What's happening moving forward? We reached out to some people like our EIT collections for Berkheimers, and they gave us projections, and we went based on those projections. We did phenomenal. What we thought was going to happen did not happen. We reduced our real estate collections by 1%, figuring that there was going to be a percentage of people who maybe lost their jobs and could not afford to pay their taxes. We actually collected at a 94% rate this year. We collected about $300,000 more in revenue than we had in the budget. So next year, I have increased that back up to our normal collection rate of 93.75%. So in doing that, we are seeing more revenue in our budget again this year because I've increased that percentage rate of collections. The potential tax freeze, if we would decide to do a tax freeze and not look at doing any kind of a tax increase this year, we would look at a loss of about $338,000. And of Ken, as you know, that's a reoccurring. So if you lose that this year, you lose that every year going forward. You could never recoup that lost money. Per capita, we did the same thing. We reinstated that back to the 1920 rates. We actually collected our per capita exactly where we had collected it in the 1920 school year. The difference of about, I think, roughly about $100. So we were right on target, and we're still collecting at the same rate that we have in the past. EIT collections, we cut that by 15%. We are a little bit shy on that, but not a lot. So we definitely feel that we can raise that back up by the 10% that we had originally cut that in dollar monies, and look at that for the increase also in EIT collections. We still have a reduction in interest in investments because, of course, anybody who has any of their money invested anywhere knows that the investment market is not giving a lot of money right now. But on the flip side of things, having moved to Nefs Bank, we are seeing nice monthly returns on interest. In the 3 months that I have been that the district has been with Nefs Bank, we've seen over $8,000 in interest in that bank. And probably we saw maybe about $3,000 in key from July 1 until December. So Nefs Bank has really pulled through with us. The fact of the money market account that they have and the amount of interest they're paying on that money market account, it is really of a good value to the district. So it was, again, a very good decision for the board to have moved to Nefs Bank and partnered with a local bank that in turn turns around and donates monies for things like our STEAM camp and stuff like that to the district. They're a good partnership with the district, and I'm glad we made that switch. State and federal revenues, I currently have budgeted them flat for basic ed and flat for special ed. A later slide coming up, you're going to see how much the governor did put in his budget to an increase for us. I myself, as many Rhonda and I have talked, and other business managers in Lehigh County and across the state are saying they're not 100% sure. This was his last budget. He threw caution to the wind, and he wanted to throw a lot of money at the school districts. No sooner than his budget presentation ended, the other side of the house was saying absolutely not. He's not getting anything he wants for, and he needs to sharpen his pencil. The fact of all the COVID money that we're seeing for ESSERs and stuff, and those $2 and $3 million, I wouldn't be surprised if we might end up seeing a flat funded basic ed and special ed, because I think they're gonna, to a point, some of the caucus is gonna end up saying, they have a lot of money coming in from federal. They don't need the extra money in basic ed and special ed. The problem that they don't foresee, and that I think we are smart enough to foresee, is that ESSER money and the federal monies are going to go away in 3 years, and we're left with nothing. They take this money away from us now, and we're zero funded. Look at that exactly as a tax increase. We can never recoup this money back. Whereas if he gave us the $350,000 this year, we would continue to get that every year, because he's not going to decrease our money next year. He's going to give it the same. So it's money you can never recoup again. So I'm not sure where it's going to go, but we are sitting, if the budget ends up passing as is, we're in a better place because we still have more revenue I can put into our budget. Right now, I'm not counting on it at this point. Hopefully, by the time we do our final budget in June, I will have an answer to that, and we can adjust our revenue budget for basic and special ed accordingly. All right, so our current fund balance as of June 30th of 2020. So you approved this back in November, I think it was. We ended the year last year with $9.7 million in our fund balance. That yellow highlighted area is the area that I thought originally we had used in order to balance our budget last year, which was $207,000. I don't anticipate us using that this year. Actually, I figure we're probably going to be somewhere in the 700, 750 area that we're probably going to add money back into our fund balance. But keep in mind, though, that we did refinance those bonds. So at this point in time, although we're putting $700,000 back into our fund balance, had we not refinanced our bonds, we would have paid almost $3 million in bond payments this year. So we would probably be using almost $2 million in fund balance. So, you know, you have to keep all this in the perspective. We have this 2-year lag yet with the bond refinancing, but after next school year, after the 21-22 school year, so in 22-23, those bond payments are going to come back. Those $3 million in bond payments will be back. Good side of things is they're done in the 28-29 school year, but it is like 6 or 7 years. We're going to have to 7 or 8 years that we're actually going to have to tighten our bootstraps and do what we can to help pay off those bonds. Hi, Rhonda. Matt, this is you.
This is part of the presentation that we've been sharing out for the last 2 years, and we just kind of want to give you an update on our long-term project planning and fund balance utilization. So you'll see the first 4 items there we've already completed: the high school science rooms, high school furniture for the science rooms, our network switches, and the tile work at the middle school. We are recommending that we continue to delay the middle school furniture replacement and the large utility shed or pole building down here by the stadium. This year, out of this year's budget, the 2021 budget, we're recommending that we complete the field house and stadium parking lot crack and seal coating, and the same work to be done over at Peters Elementary School parking lots. And we're confident that we can pay for that out of this year's budget prior to June 30th. We've already replaced a little dump truck. That's the dump truck that Greg mentioned earlier this evening, which we're going to get a snowplow for. Okay, Rhonda. We're recommending that we delay the furniture replacement for the high school. And we are currently looking into basically a total replacement for the Northern Lehigh Middle School kitchen. We kind of scratched the surface of this going into the ESCO project. At that time, for not a total replacement of what was going on down there, you know, kind of more of like some equipment upgrades, we were thinking about $250,000. We're now currently thinking for, you know, new freezers, new refrigerators, new heating areas, new serving lines, new prep areas. It's probably going to be closer to $500,000. We have scheduled a very preliminary meeting on Monday afternoon with representatives from McClure, just to say, you know, kind of help us walk through here. What would be eligible for energy savings? What can we say is eligible for things like health and safety related to COVID? And really just kind of a design, a brainstorming session of what we could do here. And then we are going to come back and hopefully have more, well, we will have more information to report to the board in upcoming meetings about what that cost may look like and if any of it's eligible for funding through the ESSER grants. Slatington furniture replacement, we're looking to delay that there. I don't know why that says that again. That should say delay in the notes section there. Water treatment plant at Peters down through the chillers at the high school. We're recommending we look at the 22-23 school year. Zero-turn lawnmower has been purchased. The purchase order has been issued for that out of this year's budget. And we're hoping that we receive delivery, you know, prior to when we really have to stay on top of the grass cutting around the campus. A new Bobcat to replace our current one for the 23-24 school year. A new maintenance truck again with a utility box in the 23-24 school year. And we're still looking at the 24-25 school year for upgrades to the baseball and softball complex. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry, but I'm going to need to excuse myself at this point, and we'll turn it back over to Rhonda and Sherry. I hope everyone has a good evening, and I'll be catching up with all of you soon. Have a good night.
Take care, Matt.
All right, so estimated fund balance ending June 30th, 2021. So beginning of July of 2020, we had 9.7 million. I'm anticipating on us again putting about $760,000 back in our fund balance. We should end somewhere around 10.5. And then this is where we have committed fund balance, assigned fund balance, and so forth. The yellow highlighted area is the area on what we're looking about, what we are currently at this point in time projecting as being a shortfall in our budget for the 21-22 school year. We talked about that medical insurance. So it was a $200,000 increase on a prior slide. We talked about the PCERS increases at $212,000 on a prior slide, which leaves us about $785,000 short yet. So depending upon, again, as I said before, if the governor comes through, we're looking at close to $350,000 of that $785 we could put in the budget if we do happen to realize that. Plus, again, as I said before, we don't have any of those retirements in our budget yet, and we don't have anything with medical benefits, health benefits, if people decide to move or transfer where they are currently at versus where they're going to go. And that will all weigh on that that end of the budget. So currently we're at 1.197 short, but like I said, by the beginning of May, the preliminary budget, we should have some more solid numbers on our side for medical and dental, or medical and salary increases, and where we're moving forward there. Go ahead, Rhonda. So again, here's that tentative big picture. So my expenses this year are about 34.3 million. My revenues are tracking at about 33.18. That is with no tax increase included in there. So what I did was I currently am building it, keeping Lehigh County at the exact millage rate it was last year. And because of that whole step reconfiguration, Northampton County's is slightly lower, and I want to say by 0.01 something. It's really close because there wasn't too much that happened in the step movement this year. The budget shortfall, though, so currently between your expenditures and your revenues is 1.19 million. Again, 212 of that is PCERS, $200,000 increase of that is healthcare, so we're short about 785, 722. If we would decide that we are not going to raise taxes and you're not going to use, you're going to use, and we don't change the budget at all as is, and we would use that $785,000 additional out of fund balance, we'd end our fund balance next year at roughly about $9.3 million. Again, as I've been saying, the governor's budget, his basic ed proposal is that we would see almost about $117,000 increase, and our special ed subsidy increase would be about $600,000. So if those do come to fruition, we're looking at almost about $350,000 in additional revenues that currently are not in the budget. So even if he moves slightly and we're able to get 50% of this, there's, roughly about $150,000 that I could put into the budget that currently is not in there. Go ahead, Rhonda. So administrative recommendations, we're basically to consider a tax increase and utilization of fund balance to generate some revenue for the upcoming year. So basically to offset that $785,000. Transportation subsidy, we continue to work with Brandywine for the fixed costs for the 2021 school year. So our subsidy is not affected during the 21-22 school year. We did receive that paperwork from him earlier on today. I just have not had a chance to look at that. So we will be reviewing that and making a recommendation to the board about that. That was all passed again this year, that we had to look at their fixed costs and pay them for their fixed costs on days when they did not transport or be used for the district for transportation of students. And then lastly, we're going to continue to look for opportunities to obviously decrease our expenditures and increase our revenues. As more information becomes available on the ESSERS 2 and ESSER 3 funding and supplanting opportunities, we're going to review that as well. Tomorrow, I do have a meeting with Lehigh Valley ASBO that they are supposed to be discussing as a holding consortium about ESSER funding 2 and 3 and ways of strategically using that money to possibly supplant. If we do that, we have to be careful in supplanting, because then you can run yourself ragged with maintenance of effort with special ed students. If you end up showing that you haven't spent as much money this year as you did last year on certain students, then you end up auditing issues with maintenance of effort and stuff. So there's a lot of things we have to talk about when it comes to supplanting, but we hope to get more information tomorrow on recommendations and ideas. It's always good to brainstorm with other business managers in the county. So I believe that's the last slide. That is it. Does anybody have any questions? Anything they want to discuss?
Sherry, Donna.
Sure.
We talked about the additional federal money that's coming in from the COVID. I guess that's the ESSERS.
Yep, the ESSERS. Mm-hmm.
Any chance we could use that for the middle school kitchen?
Yes, that is one of the things that we're looking at for doing that. We are looking to see if the middle school kitchen, if we can end up using it. Again, it would be because ESSERS allows us to supplant. So if we can, it would possibly be paying for some stuff out of the general fund and then supplanting. But that is one of the recommendations that we are looking for from McClure when we meet with them and they go through the kitchen. They're going to give us funding ideas as well, but we're hoping to be able to take it from the ESSERS money. Yes.
Yeah, because that way it wouldn't be a continuing expense. It would be a one-time.
Yep, exactly. That's exactly what we're looking for. Yep.
Oh, okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, Sherry, this is Bob. I have a question.
Sure.
Can you give me an approximation how much we spend per year on technology in our district?
Sure.
Ballpark figure.
Sure. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. I can pull it up.
And I'm talking about equipment. I'm talking about, all the hardware.
Yep.
Everything we spend on technology.
So his technology budget is $403,000 this year, and you have to realize that roughly 100,000. So 100,000 of that right now is just in there as a cushion because we're building up for that 4-year lease. So he hasn't spent that because he won't spend that till year 4 when we get all the money in there. We need to replace those. So this year he spent $303,000 on technology. And he comes in pretty much to the penny on what he pays in technology.
Which is fine. And it's going to my point.
Yep.
How much money do we spend on educational technology? Yeah, exactly. We spend very little. So here's my point. And this is the point I want to make. I don't need an answer, Sherry. I already know the answer.
Okay.
It's very little. So
I'm assuming you're talking about education of staff members and teaching them technology.
Yeah, okay, that's part of it. Sure.
Okay, yep.
So my point is this. We've entered this year of COVID, and I've been kind of quiet on the use of technology in education.
Mm-hmm.
It's become apparent that this is a huge, huge need. We trained our staff in a hurry, use an outside source. Sooner or later, that outside source goes away, and we still have this $500,000 we're investing in laptops and technology, and hotspots and community spots for internet, but yet we're doing nothing to improve our staff over the years in educational technology. And for those who don't know what I mean, real simple. There are free educational apps that our teachers are never going to research. There's a plethora of different opportunities in educating our staff and training our staff in the use of technology in the classroom. And my fear is, unless we have a watchdog and a position in the district to oversee this entire program, it's going to go away. It's wasted money. I do not want to see Northern Lehigh fall behind in the use of technology for education, because that's where we're going. And if we don't improve that, and I'm telling you, you're going to lose students to people that can do that. I think we have an opportunity here to really focus on the use of technology in educating our kids. And I'm not saying supplant teachers, get rid of, I'm talking about in addition to, so that in the classroom, we have this use of technology to enhance learning. And that's what it's about. So I'm telling you from my educational background, it's paramount that we use or utilize whatever resources we have to continue that. Eric, you've done a great job in everything you've done for the infrastructure. How we use it now. You know, we can have all these great tools and great things, but if teachers don't know how to use it, it's wasted money. And our kids are going to suffer. And other school districts are going to surpass us. There are tutorials out there. I'm looking at our test scores, and I have hundreds of ideas on how to improve that. But technology can help in all of that. So that's my focus, and I'm pushing for it, and I'm going to keep bringing it up, because if we're going to advance as a school district, we need to start looking at what's coming. And this is coming. And this is what I think our public expects. And that's just my opinion. Thank you.
You're welcome, Bob. So just because I want to make sure I can send Matt the correct message, because obviously, you know, he left. So you're looking at like a position, a teacher or somebody that is a technology education person that will teach our staff how to effectively use the programs.
I'm looking at an administrator
Correct.
to do that.
Sorry. Yep.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what we need. And that, I'm telling you, that's what we need. A big need.
Okay.
Eric can do a great job on the hardware side.
Mm-hmm.
But who is going to focus on our staff
Correct.
down the road? And I know Dr. Stoker has her hands full with a million things she's doing. There is no way she can handle curriculum and educational technology at the same time. It's an impossible task. And all we're doing is throwing money at hardware and products and not really making sure that they're being used. And that's all I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Anyone else have any questions? All right, if there's no other questions, I'm going to turn it over. I think the next thing, Donna, I think we have is PCCD grant stuff. I think it's Frank Nouse, our police officer, is here to talk about some items that we're looking at buying from that PCCD grant. We just want to keep you guys on board with that. Go ahead, Frank.
This is Gary. I just want to compliment you and Rhonda on putting this budget together. You did an excellent job. Yes, there's going to be some tweaking of numbers, and we have to work on the budget itself. But I will say thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Gary.
You guys make me go last, and now I don't have a wonderful presentation. I've waited all this time to talk for about 5 minutes. Thanks. I appreciate that. But okay, so moving forward, some of the items we're going to be purchasing out of the PCCD grant is the ALICE training that we've implemented here in the school district for all of the kids, is a platform for the staff to use on their professional development days. So it's going to be continuing education for them. And what it's going to do is provide to them, like Sherry makes us do with the Center for Safe Schools, where we have to do mandated reporting courses, so on and so forth. But this platform will also give them additional training every year, and it will also log their hours and save us some time for the professional development side of it. Sorry if it doesn't look like I'm looking at you. I have my big screen here, my camera's over here. So we're going to purchase 2 years out of the PCCD grant, and that is only going to happen just because of the way the grant is stipulated, that we can't run into the 23-24 school year. So that's how that's going to work. We're going to start that on July 1st of this year, and we're going to continue to do that, which the third year then will be purchased out of, I believe, Sherry, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but another grant that we got the third year will be purchased out of, and then it'll be fine. Next, we got an AD that Greg had got for the new cruiser car. It's in the cruiser car. Dr. Stoker just wanted me to let everybody know that the AD was also purchased out of the grant. So it is brand new and it's in the new cruiser car. Next on the list, I've been working with Shelly Dada and the evac chairs for the buildings. We have 2 evac chairs we're going to get for Slatington Elementary stairwells, 1 for the high school, 1 for Peters, and 1 for the stairwell here at district office as well, in the event that we need to evacuate somebody from the building and out the stairs in case exits are blocked. I am well aware that there are ground level entrances at Slatington Elementary. However, if that entrance is blocked or there's a fire in that side of the building and we need to get students or people with disabilities down the steps, we can do that if the elevator is rendered incapable as well. We plan to order those next month. We just want to finalize a little bit more. That'll come out of the PCCD grant. We need to obtain just a quick letter for the sole provider of the chairs. And we're also looking at potentially getting one for the stadium and storing it in the field house in case we have to go up and down the stadium steps. However, I'm going to be the guinea pig with the stadium steps, and I'm going to try and see, because they're longer steps, they're not your traditional steps going up and down stairwells. So we're going to make sure that it'll work on there and move forward with purchasing that as well for the evac chair. Fire escape ladders or Alice escape ladders. Officer Jones and I have went around and measured every ladder, every window at all the buildings, and know exactly how many ladders we are going to need. It is going to be a little bit more than what we initially had budgeted for in the PCCD grant, but that's because there was less ladders and now there's more. So at this current time, we had Cassie actually order us one today, only one, just to make sure that it is going to work for what we want. We don't want to spend $3,000 on something and not have it work and have 70 escape ladders that we don't want to use. So we ordered one, and we're going to get that in next week. Officer Jones and I will make sure and ensure that it works, and then have Greg's guys be able to install them once we purchase everything. We will also put together a training video for all the staff in the event that it needs to be used. However, we can't really train with them because we're not going to be escaping out of windows and breaking windows every month. Lastly on my list, we have the emergency buckets, to-go buckets, trauma buckets. I know most of you are privy to some of the grant information. So on there, they call them trauma buckets. I call them emergency buckets. But what we're looking to do is get a bucket for every classroom in the event that Alice fails and they actually do need to lock down for a period of time, that will allow that classroom to be self-sustaining for several hours. Hypothetically, we're looking to have it about 12 hours. In there, there'll be bandages, a small first aid kit, garbage bags, wipes, disinfectant spray, some crackers if we have diabetics. And anything that we can think of to put in there, we're going to put in there. However, we're also just watching because there's a shelf life on the food, so on and so forth. It's going to be need to be rotated out. So we're trying to find the best course of action of things to put in there. There'll be toilet paper in there, a curtain for bags. I mean, it's horrible that we have to think this way, but I'd rather be prepared than unprepared, and that's what we're looking to do. That's what I have with everything from the PCCD grant. I can update you in working with Dr. Stoker and with Sherry, and she again can correct me if I'm wrong. Where I said we went over a little bit, there is plenty of room in the grant for us to spare our overages, and we're still going to have extra on top of that as well.
Frank, that's great. Great news. Sherry, any comments from you?
He is correct. I think this is that competitive grant we got about 2 years ago. I think it was like over $300 and some $1,000 we had to spend. So yes, there's plenty of money in that grant for stuff that he needs. Yep.
Frank, thanks for thinking the whole way through it. And I'd love to see you be that dummy coming down the stadium steps with the evacuation.
Sure, I'll pull the video for that, and I'll pull the video for the training video of me climbing out the window. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. No, seriously, thank you. It's a lot to manage. I really appreciate it. Anybody else have any comments?
Thank you, Officer Frank. That was very informative, and thank you for your work.
Sure. Thank you, everybody.
And compliments on a brevity of your presentation.
It's been a long day.
Good job, everyone.
Anybody have anything else?
We do not have any other questions on YouTube or anything, so we're good.
Thank you, Eric. Anything else before we say goodnight?
No, we don't have anything.
Great. I'm gonna grab some dinner. So everyone, good night. Thank you, and we'll see everybody very soon.
Yep. Thank you all. Have a good evening.